What a huge night tonight. Florida tennis has the incomparable, the amazing, the exciting Murphy Jensen. Murphy, how are you doing tonight?
How you doing, Adam? I'm doing great. Three claps for Adam and tennis.
Oh, thank you, Murphy. It is with such joy and excitement that I'm able to bring this show to the people tonight. So I got a theme for the show, Murphy. It's called Lucky. We are lucky that you chose to spend your time with us. You are lucky to be alive, and we'll find out why, to be enjoying this great life that you have, because you've had some incredible miraculous journey to get here, to be here, and the world is lucky because Murphy Jensen is a part of it and paying it forward. So the planet Earth is lucky that you're here, Murphy Jensen. So thank you so much again for being here. Really appreciate it.
Adam.
Now, the toughest part for my guests is usually when I do the intro because I spend a little bit of time. In this particular intro, what I did was I kind of looked at your own bio, what you've written about yourself to an extent. And it was interesting to me because you don't start off Murphy Jensen, tennis player. You start off Murphy Jensen, mental health advocate. So I thought that was interesting. Talk a little bit about why you start your own bio with mental health advocate, what that means to you as opposed to tennis player.
Well, if I were to start my bio, honestly, it would be Murphy Jensen, human being, not a human doing. And I could never have strategized or come up with my bio. Nobody in the right mind would have whiteboarded and set goals for the life I've lived, necessarily. The yeah, it's I didn't write my bio.
Well, we will get to it. And I would be remiss if I didn't let the people know that you're in a very special location right now. Where are you sitting? Where are you based right now?
Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy, you're gonna make me leak oil. I am sitting in my late father's bed, on the edge of his bed, looking out the window of the tennis court that our family built in our backyard with our bare hands, taking down the trees, bringing in the contractors, laying the cement court. And we built our own tennis court in our backyard in northern Michigan
Wow.
after the Christmas tree farm that we were born into. And then mom and dad got a place closer to town and closer to the beach of Lake Michigan. And this is where I learned to play tennis.
Well, it means the world to me that you would appear from there. And I know you're coming off a big speech last night. Do you want to touch on that at all? On who you spoke to and a particular person you may have run into there
Yeah,
that meant a lot to you?
well, I'm from Ludington, Michigan. I was born in Ludington, Michigan on October 30th, 1968. And it's important that I share with you that date because in 1965 or 1966, when Luke was being born, my dad had a chance encounter with someone from Little Rock, Arkansas by the name of Buddy Williamson. And maybe it was at a coffee shop, and my dad and Buddy started talking, and Buddy said he was a tennis player. My dad was a former professional football player with the New York Giants, and he was a wrestler and a Golden Gloves boxer and spent time in the Army and gave my dad a tennis racket. And so this little gated community in northern Michigan called Epworth, uh, Buddy befriended my dad and invited him in and taught him the game of tennis. And this morning I was on a court with a net post from 1968, 70, when I was 2 or 3 years old, I was tied to the net post so I wouldn't run out in the court and get hit by balls. But this is where I learned the game of tennis. And because of that gift of Buddy Williamson, our family went on to all four of us kids, Rachel and Rebecca and Luke and I, played tennis ended up at making it to the Grand Slam level, Wimbledon, French, Australian, where we met. I think we met at the Australian and
You are correct, sir.
and the U.S. Open. So, you never know what carrying it forward or a gift will mean to somebody.
Sure.
I've learned now. And last night I spoke to an audience. Now, my dad wanted us to be professional football players. And at this summer community, there was another family that my dad met, the Slager family. Rick Slager was the All American quarterback at Notre Dame, and he thought that'd be really cool. Luke and I were raised Catholic and going to play football for Notre Dame or University of Michigan was on my dad's radar, and Rick Slager was an All-American quarterback at Notre Dame, but then he was also an All-American tennis player.
Really?
The Slaggert family said to my dad, if you want your children to be great football players, have them play tennis. It'll be great for their footwork for football.
Sure.
And we were fast tracked to on that tennis court, and by 11 years old, I'm playing national junior tennis, and by 13, I'm traveling, playing international around the world, and beating the best kids in the world and losing to the best kids in the world. And by 18, Luke had become the best junior player in the world, singles and doubles. And it was never in our wildest dreams to forget about making it to Wimbledon or winning the French Open. It was a sport that our family got to experience love together.
Sure.
We got to grow up together as a family, and we loved the game of tennis. The game of tennis took all of us places,
Sure. Sure.
and it's really, really cool.
Now, your mom was a gymnast coach, right? And a very successful one at that, if I recall.
Yeah, she was probably, I don't know anymore, but back then, the winningest
Right.
gymnastics coach in the United States.
Sure. Sure.
By 1976, she was an advisor or headed to Montreal for the 76 Olympics.
Sure.
And Olga Colbert, or whatever her name is, Nadia Comaneci, the
Sure.
Romanian,
Sure.
where we learned to play amongst gymnasts. We learned to play indoors in a gymnastics gym, again hitting against the wall. We had no indoor tennis facilities. We had a wall, and I learned to play on a wall, and Luke learned to play on a wall, and then we had this court in the backyard that we'd be able to play neighborhood tennis tournaments right here,
Sure.
just down the street from the beach and the sand dunes. And yeah, we were lucky to have a mom that not only knew how to win, but how to build, and a dad. We had parents that knew what a winning culture looked like, and that's what our family, I think, resembled not only through junior tennis and college tennis, but I think it really paid the bills in professional tennis
Sure.
when we were kind of fans,
Sure.
when we were doing all that stuff.
I think I'm not getting through your full bio here, and I apologize, but
You're fine.
I think one of the fascinating things I heard you say about your father, you said something like, "It wouldn't matter if we lost as long as we never quit. Jensen's never quit. As long as we followed the process, played the right way, the last thing my dad was concerned about was a score." And that I thought was amazing.
I mean, I'm sitting 15 feet above his deathbed, and it was always as junior players and kids, the attitude was everything. Um, Our effort and our attitude was everything. And prior to him taking his last breath, I asked him what he meant by that. What he really meant was live this life with an open mind and an open heart. Live this life with an open mind and an open heart.
Beautiful.
And he says, you cannot fail. You cannot lose with this attitude. Come on now. Come on.
That's beautiful,
Come
man.
on. It don't get better than that. And
No, you're getting me fired up here. Come on.
I'm fired up. I'm
That's
fired
awesome.
up.
And then the next thing, coincidentally, on your bio was cardiac arrest survivor, and we'll get to that. That is a stunning story of survival and overcoming the odds and giving back, and we'll get to that. There's a place for that. Okay. Um, Now, tennis player, broadcaster, paying it forward, charitable events. I loved watching you on and you'll have to bear with me. I break out parts of my tennis collection. It's just what I do. Uh,
Staying hydrated.
yes, the Tennis Channel speaker. This is an actual Tennis Channel speaker.
Come on.
I'm telling you, man. I don't know
That's
how many of
cool.
these are out there. It's right in, and it's sealed. It's like a tennis can. Uh, so I bring that up because you were on. I mean, you were breaking the mold. You were on Murphy's Guide. You also had open access, but Murphy's Guide. I mean, I remember episodes of that show where you were like James Bond, Crocodile Dundee. I was fascinated by this show. And what happens to me is 20 years ago, I go to the Australian Open. My lovely wife, Robin, indulges me to go to the Australian Open. And I'm standing in line. And oh my God, here comes Murphy's Guide, Murphy Jensen. This is happening. This is happening. And I'll never forget it. It was staggering. And it was funny thing is my wife did not like this jacket. I love this jacket. And the first thing you said was, "Hey, nice jacket." So thank you. Give me a vote
Yeah.
of confidence. I loved the interview. And the postscript to that was you were kind enough to send me a CD of the show. It was on a disc. And I was right before Maria Sharapova. So no matter who I spoke to, they would go, I remember seeing Maria Sharapova. Just not remember seeing you, but thank you, Murphy. It was a thrill. And what was it like being like open access and Murphy's Guide and doing those things? How cool was that?
Well, it was a show. I learned a lot about the
Right,
media in the game of tennis.
right.
I learned that though the media works really, really hard to get a sound bite,
Okay,
get one question asked from the players that are there for their work, which isn't to do necessarily media, it's there to win tennis matches. Media is part of growing the sport and things like that. But at the same time, if you don't win, you don't get paid. It's not like the NBA or Major League Baseball where you have $100 million contracts and you can just go play. And if you lose, there's a guaranteed 45 million. And if I decided to retire after I sign the contract, I'm covered. No. And so I learned a deep respect. But traveling to these cities where these major tennis tournaments were played, I got to see everything I missed as a player. I got to take you, the viewer, to not only backstage and in the locker room for the first and only time at that time with the cameras into the French Open. And for reasons, the only reason I got access was because the the court maintenance guys that Luke and I were kind to as players at the French Open, one of them became the president of the federation
wow,
and the president of the French Open.
fantastic,
That you can have whatever you want, any access you want to the tournament. You gave us
beautiful.
all Oakley sunglasses. You gave it all. We traded in my childhood bedroom.
Oh,
In my childhood bedroom. I have the bald kids and the maintenance crew's uniforms from the French Open hanging in my closet.
beautiful.
I had traded tennis gear, my Adidas swag and things like
Sure.
that. So it I don't have the Adidas swag or the Oakleys, but I have those things I traded for, which is pretty special. So on those shows, I also got to learn how to be the person that listens and asks questions. And Maria was on my show 20, 25 times, and Roger 20, 25 times. And the greatest compliment I got was, and maybe they watched us play and things like that, but the greatest compliment I got was they were fans of the show.
Yeah, it was an easy show to be a fan of. I mean, it was
You had
it,
fun.
it was
Yeah.
different. I always knew when I tuned in, I was going to see something that I normally didn't get access to, and it was going to be brought to me in a fun and entertaining way. So
We,
thank
we
you, Murphy, for bringing the fun.
We would make fun of the local culture at my expense. I was dressed as Napoleon in Paris at the French Open. I would be fighting Godzilla in Tokyo, and I would ask where do I find this Godzilla? And they would say, "Who's this stupid American?" Yeah, we had a ball. We had some of the most fun I had, and I was learning. I was really discovering life as Murphy Jensen and not the Jensen Brothers.
Sure,
And I was learning, developing, I was finding out who I was as a human being
sure.
and why I'm here, why I'm here on this planet. And I absolutely loved working on that show, working with the tennis channel and my team of Patrick and Heath and the guys and Kyle and others. And we were just a band of knuckleheads. We had no access to any of those tournaments. We would be sitting in the hotel lobby or in the parking lot of the players' transportation begging for interviews. I go from a center court attraction to a parking lot, stalker, and they're calling security on a Grand Slam champion because I'm not a rights holder for the tournament because we were a new network that was trying to do something different.
Well, it was fun. It was different, and it's really kind of groundbreaking because you see a lot of, I don't know if you realize, but a lot of what you did then, they're kind of bringing back now. You see, you did all that, but now they're doing it legitimately.
On
It's
TNT and everywhere
yeah, but
else.
it's now they're allowed to do it with the credentials. It was more fun with you running around and
We had
you
to
know,
make it up. We
yeah,
had
you
to
were making up
make
as
it
you go
up.
along. It was great.
We're
So
at the Eiffel Tower. We're crashing parties. And literally in Moscow, we crashed a players' party. And guess who won the refrigerator in the raffle? Me. And I'm not even a player in the tournament.
that's
And
awesome.
the tournament director was so angry.
That's
He goes,
awesome.
"Give me my refrigerator back." And I'm like, "Oh way, man, that's my refrigerator." I won it
Oh,
fair and square. True story. And I had them ship that refrigerator to here in Ludington, Michigan.
you still have it?
It's somewhere. My brother
It's a great story,
bought
man.
stuff. Yeah.
Oh, and it's a perfect time for me to show, of course, my French Open Eiffel Tower because you did mention Eiffel Tower, the word of the you
Yeah.
say the magic words. That's the French Open Eiffel Tower.
It's so
All right, listen. I've also had the pleasure of playing the Legends. Well, you're the legend. I'm the hacker, but I have the pleasure of playing the Legends over at the Delray Beach Open. One of the examples of you just kind of giving back, and you also do charitable events. But I have to ask you a question. I'm convinced that professionals like you on your racket have like you're able to turn the bottom of the racket, and it says COT, custom oriented tennis, so that you're able to make us look much better than we are without actually hurting us. That's like a special setting that you guys do on the racket handle because all I know is I play against you guys and the Bryan brothers, and for just like a minute, you think, I mean, especially with Bob, like you think you're okay, and then Bob goes, okay, we're done here. You know,
yeah,
but it's a setting though. It's a setting. You got to tell me to confirm this is a special setting on professional
exactly.
tennis players' rackets to let you play with hackers like me.
Yeah, I've got a father-in-law that's a train wreck on the tennis court. He is he claims he served aces on me and held his serve. He's got me down 3-0. First of all, I hit every ball. That setting on the butt cap can put
Th-
that ball
That's what
right
I was going with the butt
into
cap, the
your
setting.
strings.
Right.
It goes right into my father-in-law, the harpoon strings. And, he doesn't realize that I've got a heart condition. And so he's rifling shots for the line, and I'm running corner to corner like a bear in a zoo. And he's on the phone with my brother telling him that he beat Murphy today. And I'm like,
Yeah. So,
oh
well,
my
on
God.
behalf of all of the people that you coddle on the tennis court like me, I want to say thank you
Yeah.
because to have that time where you have the illusion that maybe I hit a good shot against Murphy Jensen, even though it's not real, we love it. We need it. It makes us feel good. So thank you for your generosity of spirit in doing that. Now, I do encourage everybody to do a Legends event. This is from, you guys are always nice to sign stuff.
There's the Murphy.
Of course. It's not
Wow.
just Murphy. Murphy Jensen loves you. You love me. It's right there. You put it right there. And I got, it's got nothing, Sam Querrey and Stevie Johnson, Tommy Haas, Ryan Harrison, Mike Bryan, of course, Bob. And I had Bob and Mike write Hall of Fame. By the way, I will say Tommy Haas doesn't quite have that setting on his racket. That guy is. I hit a ball, a lob over his head. The guy went back like it was the French, like it was Wimbledon, like I don't know, like a hard court slam. Hits it between his legs right at me, and I just basically went, oh, ducked because I'm so shocked. So tell him to get that setting on the butt cap of
David
his racket.
Elise, Tommy Haas, these youngsters that come out of the even the Bryan brothers when they first came out, they
Yeah,
they don't have the setting in their racket and they don't know the rules of dinosaur tennis. And you guys they're still playing like they're on the tour. Then Sam Querrey shows up and he's beating us with a pickleball racket. And this guy's issues. Anyway, talk
but
about mental health.
yeah,
Sam Query needs WeConnect. Anyway, he got it, and
yeah,
no, but the youngsters are still hitting a big ball, and they're just coming off of
sure,
and Tommy and I play a lot of tennis today, even at 56, because the game that we played today, yesterday, is not played today. It is the same game, but with the string and technology of the sticks, the technique and the structure that I was raised on the wall and taught with a wood Dunlop Max Supply fort racket is not leveraged today. So for me to transmit anything useful to anybody, whether I don't commentate anymore, but if I were to transmit and help you or anybody with their forehand or backhand, I have to, with this modern technology, you're out there with the Roger Federer racket, but I had to learn how to use it. I've been learning how to use
sure.
what's going on out here, and it's madness. I'm playing a college kid who's a 6'6" Hungarian, just an animal, serving 250 miles an hour, and he stands on the fence to return my serve, taking my best stuff and taking a full cut. Good luck with your serve and volley game, Murphy. So it's bombs over Baghdad today, and I've had to learn how to play with the youngsters and develop a game that didn't exist in the 90s.
I, I love the fact that you're still playing, you're still learning, you're
I'm
still
obsessed
you're
with it.
still you're still loving the game. I too, I can't get enough of the game. Now, you're a coach, you're a coach, tennis coach, life coach, Washington Castles Coach of the Year in 2013. What's it like coaching Martina Hingis, the Williams sisters, Sam Querrey, Leander Pace, winning 6 championships, 34 match winning streak, longest in professional sports? What is that about? How do you do that, Murphy? And tell us about that.
Well, you asked at the top of the show
Yeah.
why I have a mental health advocate. It
Yes.
was because of 10 years of coaching world team tennis. I learned real quick that no, because all these guys, I brought the Jensen family culture to the castles, and then I brought my personal experience which has been my setbacks and my surviving and my suffering, and most importantly, my love to Venus, Serena, Martina, the Rodionova sisters, Bobby Reynolds, Sam Query, Nick Kyrgios, you name it. And I brought what I had learned and overcome, and how my heart has been healing over 26 years now. I brought that to that team, and what they got from me wasn't how to hit forehands and backhands. They had a safe place to be scared. They had a safe place to feel pressure. They had a safe place they could trust me. And as a result, we're pretty darn good. They could play tennis, and now they're going to perform at their highest level, at a level World Team Tennis had never seen before. Mark Ein, the owner of that club, we had a high standard that that we all bought in. And so much so, you think, these players are just playing for the money. A couple of the greatest stories I have around that was that Martina Hingis um, was struggling on the tour, and she had a couple of bad weeks. And coming out of Canada, she's like, "Where are the castles?" I said, "We're in New York and at Forest Hills, and heading back to." She was, "Can I come play for the team?" "Well, you're not scheduled for another week." And no, but I just need to be with the team. I just need
Wow. That's extraordinary.
no money. Just I want to be with the team. I need to get my mojo back. I need to get that love back. And then to get a call from Venus Williams in she's in China or Asia playing, and just checking in, Coach Murphy. How you doing? You know, and I know how it's lonely on the road. I was on that same road, and to have people you can call and just say, you know, how you doing? I'm in China. I can tell you if I were making that phone call, maybe I was feeling lonely, you know,
Sure.
and yeah, that was a great compliment. So it was the thrill of my life, and a major stepping stone in the growth and development and transformation of Murphy Jensen.
I've watched some of it. I mean, I've seen photos of you in the White House and getting with President Obama, getting the jerseys, and what a time it was. But Murphy, now I'm going to take you to, okay, if this was a time machine, we're going back in time. Most successful and important athletic achievement of Murphy Jensen is 1976. You're 8 years old. Punt, pass, and kick competition. Murphy Jensen, his destiny is to be a great punter. This is your time. Take us through that competition, Murphy. What happened in
Pump
it?
Pass and Kick. Pump Pass and Kick, sponsored by Ford Motor Company. And it was a time at halftime. So you go through the city and the district and the regionals, and then eventually you make it to the qualifying game for the Super Bowl or something like that. And that game is televised. It's Thanksgiving Day, the Chicago Bears versus the Detroit Lions, and I'm in a helmet, pads, jersey, head to toe Detroit Lions gear, and I win. Walter Payton scores 6 touchdowns, and he threw a football in my hands. It sits above
Oh,
our fireplace today, a
wow.
100 years later. Um, yeah, it's funny you bring up that story because I got newspaper clippings going to the Superdome in New Orleans. My dad is on the edge of his seat and we're competing. And I didn't want to say I finished second or third or something in the overall. Uh, but I'm really close friends with a with a special teams coach.
Okay.
Been to 2 Super Bowls with the Seahawks, one with the Niners. He may have been to more. Special teams coach. And I asked him for a tryout.
I love it. I
as the
love it.
punter for the 49ers. Now, Linda Allred was my little sister at USC when I played tennis there, and she was on the women's tennis team. And she married John Lynch, who I met briefly and Luke
Wow.
briefly. And so I've got the stars are in alignment. One of my best friends was caring individual, someone that looked after me and loved me after my cardiac arrest. And I'm in the best shape of my life. And I asked for a tryout, and he says to me, "You wouldn't pass the physical."
Come on, Murphy Jensen.
Wouldn't pass the physical.
What?
Is that the biggest joke? Number one, a
This
punter.
sounds like they're trying to keep you out of the league.
They are trying to keep me out of the league. There's a punter is not supposed to get hit by anybody, isn't
Absolutely.
supposed to hit anybody, and his uniform never gets dirty. Okay, so, and I'm not saying it doesn't take a skill to get some hang time, but everybody's going for it on fourth down now, so maybe I kick twice a game. And I don't need to be Ray Guy with the flexibility of Nadia Comaneci. I just need to be able to boot it. Anyway,
I think they're afraid because if you come out and become the greatest punter in history,
at
you,
56.
yeah, you kill it for all the punters out there.
So
Oh, but I will be there, Murphy. If you get into, I promise you,
I'm going
if
to punt I'm going to punt in the game someday.
I will be there.
And now the problem with my skill set as a punter is a lot of punters doubles as the holder for the play for the field goal kicker, and that's where I might have problems.
Hey, we don't just kick the ball, just
Get
punt
someone
the
to
ball.
punt the ball. So now a couple of friends of mine own a team in Washington, D.C. that I'm very, 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 very close to. And I'm thinking, you know, um, I've been saving my money. My dream is to one day buy one of these teams in the league and just give myself the job.
That's the answer.
That might be the
You
answer.
buy the team, you become the punter. All right, I'm in. I'm all in. But now, probably the second greatest athletic achievement was winning the French Open, 1993, with your awesome brother Luke. Um, I'm gonna have to show just a few things about the brothers, and we'll start with the card, which is the great photo,
Yeah,
uh, which says doubles duo Luke and Murphy Jensen are so popular with the fans that it's standing room only whenever they play. The flamboyant brothers stunned the tennis world by winning the 1993 French Open. So this is a great card, and really it was the beginning of grunge tennis. And I have one of my favorite things is this shirt,
wow.
uh, this signed shirt, I should say. Jensen Brothers till death do us part.
That's
Okay,
right.
love that. Which ties in with, of all things, you guys were so popular that you were doing advertisements for Lowe's Theater,
Yeah,
and there you go, looking studly. There you go. And there's Luke wearing the shirt, the bandana. There's another one here.
that's
And these ads are classic. They say tennis pro brothers Luke and Murphy Jensen take a break from their world tour to see the hottest movies at Lowe's theaters. Pièce de resistance for me is this cover, which you guys are gracious enough to sign. Luke's doing the rock kick. You're got the guitar, and of course, love wins. Murphy Jensen, Luke Jensen, USA '93 FOC. And I got to tell you, Luke, met him just a few times. Funny, great guy. I'll never forget one time I asked him, I had him sign something. He wrote French Open chump, and
yeah.
he laughed and handed it to me, and we talked. Quick thing about Luke, his nickname is Dual Hand Luke, right?
Yep.
Because he serves, he can serve, he can talk about he could serve from both sides, right?
Amphibious. He can play tennis on land and below water, in the water. Uh, he's Aquaman. No, he can serve righty and lefty. I am a righty that plays tennis lefty. Luke's a lefty that plays tennis righty. And Luke was also a pump passing kick superstar. We were both raised to be football players. And a tennis coach when we moved from northern Michigan to Grand Rapids, Michigan to live with Don Dickinson saw how far Luke could throw the football with his left hand at the age of 13 and said, I wonder if we could develop that left-handed serve. And then you'd have righty in the deuce, lefty in the ad, the kicker on both sides. And Luke developed that left-handed serve, just having a strong throwing motion where it looks like a mirror to one another as far as the technique. And by 16, he's playing the Kalamazoo Nationals, serving lefty and righty. And by 18, like I mentioned, he was the number one junior player in the world singles and
Wow,
doubles, serving lefty and righty.
incredible.
138 miles an hour on the right and 135 on the left, and it threw his opponents off, our opponents off on the doubles court. And then when lobs would go up to hit overheads, he'd go righty or lefty, and I'm at the net, and it's like a science project because I'm going righty, lefty. He would switch from right to left between serves. He'd miss his first serve lefty and go righty wide body. And I need Chat GPT, to decode the signals going on out here. I have no idea what's going on, and I'm just winging it most of the time. Uh, but it kept me on my toes.
Well, I know you guys were close growing up. You both played college tennis. The French Open, winning that in '93, and I've heard some stories about it. I know Johnny Mack came into the locker room before that match, and I think it was VE Day, and he's
49th anniversary of D.
I'm sorry, D-Day, and he's telling you
We're playing two
you
Germans.
tell this story because I'm just
So we're it's the 49th anniversary of D-Day. On the day of our final, he and Bud Collins are calling the match, and before every match he calls, he likes to hit some balls. He comes through the locker room, and I've got my game face on. I'm wrapping up my grips. I'm getting ready for the biggest match of my life. I've never played the French Open before. I'm in the finals. We beat Edberg and Korda in the semis, who had won Monte Carlo. They're ranked number one in the world, and we beat Goran Ivanisevic and LeConte in the quarters. I
wow.
I have never played the French Open before. Now I'm in the finals, beating all these Hall of Famers and playing two Germans on the 49th anniversary of D-Day, and John's screaming about General Patton and Germans and Normandy and all. And I'm not a U.S. history major, and he's screaming that you got to take these Germans and da-da. And I'm like, these Germans speak perfect English. They're sitting right there.
This is the
Okay.
best.
And they had nothing to do with Normandy and D-Day or World War II. Okay. These are two really nice guys who
Yeah.
are just as lucky as we are to be in the finals.
Oh,
And there's such amazing humor. And I'm thinking, why in the heck is John McEnroe screaming at me? I got enough problems, going on. I don't need John McEnroe yelling at
oh,
me before the biggest match of my life.
oh, Murphy. I can just picture. I mean, I love Johnny Mack and his passion, and I'm just picturing this going down, and those guys are listening, and you're listening, and listen. It wasn't easy to play the Jensen Brothers. I mean, you guys were wrestling each other before matches, during matches. You guys were serving righty and lefty. I mean, you guys, it wasn't exactly like facing, some prim and proper team of etiquette. I mean, you guys were, facing you guys was a daunting task, right?
We competed really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I was talking about it today. We would be in the semifinals of Indian Wells or something, or the quarterfinals of Indian Wells or Miami. And it's a night match, stadium court, and our opponents were warming up like normal people. And Luke and I are in a fist fight, and he's got me in a chokehold because he didn't like my line call. And they're thinking, look what they're willing to do to each other. Imagine what they're setting out to do to us.
Oh, That's
Now, when we're talking about a match I played with John McEnroe later, we played him and Andre Leconte in Hong Kong. And John McEnroe, me being a lefty, him being a lefty, I admired him being a bad boy.
sure.
And we're playing in Hong Kong, and John McEnroe had an easy overhead. And he's still playing, and he cracks me right in the head with an overhead. Now, a normal person might get upset. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
Love it.
McEnroe just hit me right square in the head with
It's
an
all
overhead.
perspective.
It's all perspective. My big brother did not think it was that cool. So he goes, I want you to kick it high to Henri's backhand, and he's going to float one over the middle. Okay, you got it. Kick high to the backhand, float. Luke comes across with a forehand tomahawk volley and hits John McEnroe in the screws so hard at Victoria Park that drops John McEnroe to the ground. He's just been nailed in the crotch. He they have to bring a stretcher. They didn't bring a trainer out. They had to take him in a stretcher back to the locker room. God knows what they had to ice. And they had a 15-minute match delay. We won the match 7-6 in the third. John McEnroe. And then he's screaming at the umpires. And I thought, this is my chance. I've never told anybody this publicly. So I said, if he's going to scream at these guys, he's my hero.
Sure.
I'm going to out John McEnroe, John McEnroe. So I take my tennis racket back and this isn't an exhibition match. This is an ATP tour match. And it is a yard sale of crap on the court, rackets and bandanas and grit tape all over the place. And he says to Luke, what's wrong with your brother? And I just thought it was my moment that I could show John how much I respected his madness out there on the tennis court. And I outmaxed Mac.
There's so much I love. We could do a show on this story. There's so much I love about this story, but for me, the key is Luke, the protector, the older brother. Don't hit my younger brother
No, no, no. Big
in the
man.
head. That is not going to go well.
That's
That is the moral of that story.
yeah.
Because and I know reading about you that throughout your childhood, I mean I know you always looked up to Luke. Luke has been there for you. He's been the protector, and I know you guys are great. And I can't help the whole other segment, but I can't help but think about the Bryan brothers because they're watching you guys. You are rock and roll tennis, and they also have a bond that is just unbreakable. They're twins. You guys aren't twins, but I see a lot of parallels between the Jensen brothers and the
We
Bryan
met
brothers,
that
and
we
a love that you guys have for each other. No?
we met them when they were 11 or 12 years old playing the LA Open, and they were little kids, and we geared them up in all the Adidas stuff. And they were front row screaming and yelling, and they were in the line, autograph lines. You know, I think the greatest similarity between the Jensen brothers and the Bryan brothers is not just the love for each other. I highly recommend any parents that have two boys or girls to have your kids play doubles together.
Yeah.
They're going to learn to solve problems together. They're going to protect one another. They're going to love one another. They're going to get through some hard times. Uh, and I said the greatest similarity is beyond that is we love playing.
Yes.
We love playing together. And when my brother had his surgeries and stuff, I didn't see myself playing tennis. I'd never be able to enjoy the game the way I enjoyed it with my brother.
Yeah, I think I know Mike did not get the same joy. Nothing against Jack Sock,
Yeah.
but winning a major with Jack was not winning a major with Bob. It just wasn't. Um, and I love these guys, and they're going into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And I want the Jensen Brothers in the Hall of Fame, but I'll
Yeah.
start that. That's got to be cool for you, though, having the Bryan brothers going into the Hall of Fame. How do you feel about that?
Oh man, it's neat. We played them as exhibitions when they were junior players, and then they went on to Stanford. We played with them a little more. We played them maybe once or twice on the tour. I want to say we lost 7-5 or 6 in the third in Cincinnati near the end of our stuff at a match point, and I overran a return that would have been an easy put away.
Oh,
How I feel about the Bryan brothers going into the Hall of Fame. It's they're two of the greatest human beings I've ever met.
agreed.
And for me, for me, it's more important or just as important how you act as an ambassador to the game or a professional, how you behave is just as important to me to be in the Hall of Fame as a human being, as a person, than as a player. It's more important for
Right.
sure.
I,
Uh,
I've watched these guys, just so you know, I've watched them interact with fans.
yeah,
It is a never-ending sea of selfies
yeah,
and autographs.
yeah.
And to a person, they can't feel like every single night they want to stand out there and do that. They've got families, they've got things to do, but they make every person feel special. And that's how I felt around you guys. When I was with the Jensen brothers. I mean, you guys are just you're ambassadors to the nth degree, all you guys. It's incredible.
When we played, we got to a point where we didn't even have to win matches. People came to see the Jensen, not the show, but the competitiveness, the love, it became a show sometimes, but maybe the Bryan brothers, they were in our autograph lines. And when we'd play grandstand, full house, or we played Armstrong middle weekend of the US Open, and Pat O'Brien made a call and said the cover of Tennis Magazine said tennis is dead. And one of those nights on Armstrong, we beat Patrick Rafter and Brian Shelton and
Wow.
Shelton's father.
Sure.
And Patrick had just won the US Open the year before. And then we would stay up or we would sign every autograph until the stadium was empty. You know, there was nothing more important than that. And I gotta feel or believe that the Bryan brothers may have taken notes and recognize how important that is. Think about it. The Woodies won 5 straight Wimbledons, and they're amazing guys and amazing tennis players. But realistically, and other players have had bigger doubles careers. But the Jensen brothers' career on their one Grand Slam win has had 30-year legacy still going, that the phone still rings to play. Um, I was at the beach in northern Michigan yesterday, and some dude, 5 teeth, rolls up on me, or someone says, "Oh my God, my dad will flip and he sees you here." And yeah, he goes, "I watched all your matches. I watched your friend." This is Northern Michigan, man. People are, sheep
Sure.
are scared and there's wolves. And no, it's not the country club. And this guy isn't a tennis player. He just watched tennis. And he has followed all our stuff and all of Andre's stuff and a lot of people. And here he happened to be in this hometown of mine of 10,000 people and was blown away. And so that's impact.
Yeah.
He goes, I watched your French Open final, and he was just blown away.
Yeah,
And
yeah, you guys are iconic. I mean, the Jensen brothers are, I'm saying iconic. You're not going to say iconic. You guys are iconic. I mean, talk about capturing a moment in time. I mean, what you guys did to win that slam and the way you did it and the way you treated the fans, nothing like it. It's a storybook, two brothers, two guys who just worked hard and did the right thing. And I want to kind of take that up as a starting point because you're on top of the world, but unfortunately, you're not feeling like you're on top of the world, and this is where things get a little fuzzy for you. Can you take us through a little bit about the tough times that followed, especially internally with Murphy Jensen? And the reason I can get into this little side is because you come out the other side great. So it's not a downer. It's just a moment in time that was difficult for you that you were able to overcome. And by talking about it, you help other people who may go through dark times. So if you could take us through a little bit of how you felt and how you got through it all.
let me explain a little bit about my brother. You told you the way you felt about the Hong Kong story with John McEnroe and being hit in the head. 3 weeks before the French Open, Luke and I are on an 8-10 week losing streak on the clay.
Wow.
After having a hot start to the year, 8-10 weeks is nothing to sneeze at. And Luke's got we lose another first round in Hamburg, and it's raining on us, and we're out there, and he's got semifinals of Rome points coming off. He's got our finals of Rome. He's got a win in Bologna coming off in the quarterfinals of the French. These are points that are going to affect his ranking and drop him below 100. He started the year with me in the top 10, and he's about to drop under 100. And in Hamburg, I tell Luke, if you need to find another partner, go find another partner. Not many people know what happened here. Certain things in my life, you just, it's like the expression, how do you explain the unexplainable? You have to experience it. And this is one of those moments that we all experience in our lives if we're awake and aware. And I say, you should find another partner to save your career. And he says, Murphy,
Wow.
I don't care if we drop to 10,000 in the world. I believe in you and your abilities. And if we drop to 10,000, we're going to keep fighting back and I believe in you. And that was a turning point. That very next week, we beat the defending champions of Rosé and Lassick of Roland Garros in the second round of Rome, make the semis, finals of Bologna. And the night before we start the French, he says, Murphy, um, we're ready to go. We can win. We can win here in Paris. We win. If you look at the scores, it's like 12-10 in the third, 10-8 in the third. Third round, we're down 5-3 in the third, rain delay. Stefan Edberg gives me some tips to get back out there. We win 7-5 in the third. We were down 3-0 in the third in that final. We beat Ivanisevic and Lecointe in the quarters. Good luck being a guy from France.
Wow.
So we win the French. And arguably, it's the first tournament I've ever won on the tour. I've won some challengers, but not a tour event. I'm pretty sure I haven't won a tour event yet. The first tournament I win is the French Open
That's crazy.
with my brother, which blows up. But I sat in that locker room. I didn't even know to get the trophy. I was so zoned in and so in my head. Um, but I remember being in that locker room and a couple of things happened to me. You don't realize, everybody, that a locker room at the end of 2 weeks is empty, a ghost town. Nobody's in there. And Luke was probably heading to the press conference or something. And I found myself sitting there. Two things. The first thing is this that I I knew I felt the presence of the tennis gods. I swear to God, this is what I
Sure.
was and what I felt.
Incredible.
And that I would never have to prove myself that I was good enough. But on the inside, and what I had running through my head was that I wasn't enough, and that I this is going to get really big. This is before rock and roll tennis. Well, there was no rock and roll tennis. We were just looking for handouts to get shoes for the clay, and something scared me. And I looked down at my hands and they were shaking, and then I got sick, and I had a head that wanted to be anywhere but where it was at. And what I've learned now, having worked in the mental health space for the past 10 years and being someone in recovery from mental health challenges for the last 26, um, is that I had a panic attack. And I was sick in the shower. I showered up, go to the press conference, and I don't tell anybody what had happened.
Sure.
Who in the hell am I going to tell? Donald Dell?
Sure. I understand.
Am I going to tell anybody? Who's going to sponsor a guy who doesn't know what he doesn't know? Really, is really where I sat in that moment. And 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 then rock and roll tennis was born. I come back here to this court, and Rolling Stone magazine is right there, or Sports Illustrated is right here. We're on a fishing boat with ESPN. All hell breaks loose. My front lawn is filled with reporters and CNN and you name it. And this wasn't the ticket that I was buying, but something told me this was coming as a result of what had just happened. And I come home and I didn't have the tools, and I was asked to speak to my hometown high school in 1993, and I declined. They wanted me to speak to these kids about how to live their best lives, and the truth is I didn't know how to live my own. And I would proceed to perform and play, and at times it was fun, but I'd be in the sea of people, center court of whatever, the marquee match. They were calling us the third biggest draw in the game of tennis behind Sampras and Agassi and the Jensen Brothers because we sold the game. We sold the game of tennis, and sponsors from Harley Davidson to Rolex to you name it, guitar sponsorships, American Express. They all bought this amazing Jensen Brother ticket, but I didn't have the tools for living. And I would isolate after matches and find myself in hotel rooms so lonely, so afraid. I was terrified. I like the word terrified. I'd be in a sea of those stadiums of all these people so alone. I didn't know what the hell was wrong with me. I apologize to anyone for using that language, but I didn't know what the heck was wrong with me. And that led to, I call it now self-medication.
Sure.
I drank like everybody else, but my everybody else would continue in the hotel room, and I'd drink to excess. And eventually I'd be at the 99 US Open while my first son, Billy, was being born.
Yeah.
And I became unrecognizable to myself.
Yeah.
And I drank myself into an oblivion. And my best thinking had me jumping out of a window in New York City. And instead of a hotel manager calling the police, he called an interventionist. and he knocked in my hotel room at 2 o'clock in the morning and shared with me his experience and his story. And I thought he was telling me he shared with me how he felt when he was in the throes of his disease. I didn't know I had a disease, a mental health disorder,
Sure.
and and then I would go to Los Angeles and go through a psych ward and a detox. And there was a doctor there on the fifth floor named Dr. Murphy. And he asked me, "What am I going to do?" And I said, "I don't know what to do." And I was so broken, so bloodied and beaten and broken. And he said, "Well, I recommend that you live in sober living." I'm top 10 in the world and being recommended to go live in sober living for a year. And Doug C was the house manager. And when you live in sober living, you've got to have a job. And he goes, "Where are you going to work? And you got curfews." And I said, I'm still friends with Doug to this day, 26 years later.
Incredible.
And he lives in Bellingham, Washington. I said, "Well, I'm a professional tennis player." And he said, "Well, where do you work?" And I go, "Next month I'll be in Australia. I'm going to Doha, Qatar, and Sydney and Melbourne." And he says, "Well, just don't drink or use drugs between matches and get to your support group meetings." And I did that. And what was really special is that my dad was someone in long-term recovery. And
Wow.
he had known a long time before that the party was over for me. He wasn't mad at me. He knew that I had a broken heart and I got letters from him and all kinds of stuff. And so we went to meetings together in Australia, support group meetings in Australia. And
Amazing.
what I thought would be the worst thing that could have happened to me has turned into be this. You talk about the tennis channel. They didn't
Sure.
call me. They didn't call me. I was in Los Angeles, healing, and the tennis channel and ESPN and people had called Luke. Tennis channel called Luke. They didn't call me to work for the tennis channel. They called Luke. Nobody knows this.
Yeah.
And Luke says, "I have a contract with ESPN. I cannot work for the tennis channel." But Murphy lives in Los Angeles. So I met with Laura Hawkridge and I took an interview. And she goes, "Well, I'd like to hire you to host open access in Paris." And I said, "Well, if I do a good job, can I can I maybe do the one in London after?" And she said, "Sure." And that was the beginning of my recovery path I owe Ken Solomon a lot. I owe Steve Bellamy a lot. They don't even know what I was doing between those shows, but I was getting well so I could one day become this person you see today, you know.
Yeah, Murphy, I want to thank you for I can feel it's a visceral pain that comes through this Zoom
Really?
camera that, yeah, really, in your heart and in your soul when you talk about this. And it's really incredible. It's very powerful. And then there's the Luke connection again. But I remember hearing you talk about addiction, and I thought this was an interesting statement you made. If I had cancer, they would have named a stadium after me. But when you're in the throes of addiction and depression and mental health issues, people disappear. They don't, and I think it's changing because of people like you telling
Yeah.
your story, and we're seeing all sorts of players like Marty Fish talking about his mental health struggles and Naomi Osaka. You're not alone. People deal with this all the time, but it was so kept quiet, and it's just wonderful that you're doing this to help people because it doesn't sound like it's fun to talk about.
No, it's not that it's not fun. You know, I I got to be honest with you. The I would be shocked to find a single person on this planet that hasn't, I want to say 66 million Americans deal with mental health challenges every year.
Sure.
444,000 people in 2025 in the first 6 months of the year have taken their lives. If you don't know somebody, you know somebody. If it's not if you're not dealing with something, you know somebody dealing with someone. When I think about that guy that was suffering the way I was, because of my recovery, it feels like I'm speaking about another guy. And it touches me on a cellular level because that man who ended up so broken was and is at one time 8 years old or 5 years old learning the game of tennis, hitting on a wall. And and so I see that little boy out in that court I'm looking at of mine learning. I learned to hit tennis balls off a t-ball tee. That's how I learned how to hit topspin.
Incredible.
Right there. And my dad would take out Tennis Magazine or Florida Tennis Magazine. And he would little plug there.
Appreciate that.
He would take chalk, he'd take chalk and he'd take the tennis tips and we would chalk on the court with chalk the tennis tips. And we learned from these magazines and from what would today be today's podcasts and stuff like that. We learned from this. I regress.
No, it's great stuff.
Yeah, and as a result of my recovery, I've been, and so I'm only as sick as my secrets.
Yes.
I, it took me 14 years to share where I've been, what happened, what it was like, and what it's like now. All right. And it's taken me 14, 15 years, to get to this place where I am comfortable in my skin. Uh, I've mended my fences. I have, I wouldn't say changed my ways, but I've gone through a psychic change where it's just like I'm talking about a different dude.
Sure.
This dude isn't waking up in the morning to go out and hurt himself. This dude isn't going to bed at night. Now, do I still have fears, doubts, and insecurities? Sure. But I have tools to combat that stuff. I have a program of recovery and I've got tools that I can leverage. I am a person that gets a phone call from a person in the tennis world, could be in the Hall of Fame, might not be, whose son or daughter's on life support. I get a call from someone, same thing, a tennis community or in the Hall of Fame. It don't matter whether you're a hacker or a superstar.
Sure.
Human beings that had tennis strikes, they call me because they don't want to live anymore. How do I not feel empathy?
Sure.
I got a call, a couple calls this year. It's the call you never want to get that someone took their life.
Wow.
And it's from someone, it was a tennis coach. And this person, the family that sent me a photograph of a tennis shoe that I had signed to this young boy.
Wow.
Okay. And I got a call from a girl whose dad I played tennis with who wanted to come work for my company. We'll talk about that.
Sure.
And I said, I don't want to talk about my company. Who are you? What's your story? And I had just survived sudden cardiac death. I was dead on the court for 18 minutes. We'll get to that.
Absolutely.
She shares with me her, grew up playing tennis and stuff like that. And she just wanted to talk to me. She wanted to learn about my business and my company of helping people. And she shared with me a story where she had gone to a bridge and jumped off that bridge. And she had survived jumping off that bridge. So I have a responsibility as someone that has survived. I don't know if I've overcome my demons, but I've learned how to manage them.
Sure.
And that if anybody ever reaches their hand out for help, that I am available. I would have walked 3,000 miles to prevent that child's um, taking of his life. Okay.
Sure.
And stop till the day I die. And that's who Murphy Jensen is today. And just doing Thursday with you.
It's extraordinary, and I do want to take you through, if you don't mind.
Mm.
Murphy Jensen's life is well, it's amazing. I want the book. I'm waiting. If there is a book, I want a first edition signed. I'm buying it. I'm all over it. I want them all over my room here, and we'll get to that in a minute. But this amazed me. You're taking either a friend or a relative to get some treatment for addiction. You sit down at a cafe and he says, "You look tan." And you say, "Oh, yeah, I just got back from Necker Island hanging with Richard Branson and Rafa Nadal and Djokovic, and we're having a good time." And the guy, he goes, "Yeah, I have a friend who works for Microsoft who was there, and take it from there, Murphy, because that is the way you created this unbelievable company, which became a Seattle startup, and now is helping people. Take us through that, because that's unbelievable.
Once again, you know, I would have never had a whiteboarded for my life with my guidance counselor that I'd be a mental health advocate or a whatever I'm doing. And my mother-in-law asked me to take a family friend of theirs to a support group meeting. He was in an outpatient program. I could have said no, but I said yes.
Of
And
course,
I take this gentleman to this program. We are just talking about this today with my wife, and
that's the great Kate,
yeah, Kate the
as
Great.
uh, as your brother Luke calls her. Yeah,
Yeah, Kate the Great.
yeah, Kate's great. Yeah,
And she and so Daniel does say exactly that. I love your tan. I have a friend in my outpatient program that was at Richard Branson's when you were there, the tennis fundraiser, and you should meet her. And so they connected us and we got together and she shared it with me on a whiteboard in the tech world. It's called wireframes. She had this idea where we could leverage technology and build support and services around mental health and addiction. It's called wireframes, right? You press the app, it takes you here, it does this. And the idea was that we digitize one's care plan. The driver of relapse, reoccurrence, and not favorable outcomes is lack of accountability to that care plan, lack of accountability to that care plan, and lack of connection and support that you get in your 28 days of rehabilitation or treatment. So, and I'm like, that's amazing. You know, if you need my help, let me know. I'd love to help. If you need some help. And she, oh, it's just an idea. And I said, it's a great idea. What do you need? And She goes, "We're going to raise, I think I'd need at least $1 million or $2 million to get this thing off the ground to build a minimal viable product." And I want to say, you know, we built it. We went to TechCrunch Seattle, we win that. We go to TechCrunch Disrupt, we win that. I have no background in healthcare, no background in finance and funding, yet I'm the finance and funding. And I'm the co-founder of WeConnect Health Management, WeConnectHealth.io. And you or someone you know is hurting, there's help there. We built a mobile app that has peer services, which is people like me with credentials and things like that. And we have support group meetings within the app. And for mental health services, family support, grief support, you name the community, we help it. We serve health plans from Medicaid to Medicare.
Wow.
We serve employers, we serve benefit brokers, we serve millions of people, and we're about to launch. We're going to serve the veterans. Millions of veterans
Fantastic.
transferring out of the military will have, what does Murphy know about Afghanistan? Zero. So it's going to be veterans serving veterans because that's how it should be. And that's not even public yet, but it's an amazing. I am just overwhelmed that, and then COVID hits, and now it's very normal, and it's taken us a lot of money and a lot of technology and a lot of trial and error. But basically, it comes down to this: for every 200 patients or members, we save this world $2 million, and there are tens of millions of people in recovery or need recovery that you 10 million people, if 200 people save you $2 million, what's 10 million people going to save you? So, this, I cannot take any credit for this. Once again, another divine intervention. It really is. The hotel manager was divine intervention. Dr. Murphy was divine intervention. My brother is saying to me, "I'm playing doubles with you no matter what," is divine intervention. Murphy, anybody can stop destructive behavior, but staying stopped is the secret sauce. And how do you do that? Well, I have to change just one thing, everything.
Murphy, I think you're selling yourself. I know you're selling yourself short because there's a reason why your brother had that faith in you. And there's a reason why other people
Mm.
have come to you because they see the goodness in you and your strength.
Thank you.
Because you're welcome, because keep in mind, and you have to not just ask for help, you have to want the help and you have to want to get better.
Mm.
And you had all of those things. And now to pay it forward with this company is extraordinary because I would think that one of the key things in not, I don't use the word recidivism, but but one
Yeah,
of the key
recidivism.
things is when you're away from that meeting because you're on the road and you're sitting in a hotel bar and trying not to drink, you've got that phone right there.
Yeah.
And that immediacy slaps you back in and helps you. That's got to be one of the keys, right?
Yeah, I'm reminded to remember means to join up again on the daily. The most important date in my life is June 1st of 2006. I've got 19 years in recovery. I haven't put anything in my mouth that changes me from the neck up. And yeah, we have these phones for everything in our lives. Why wouldn't we have it to support our
Sure.
recovery? And I make my recovery is the centerpiece of my life and everything beautiful in my life. I've never been asked that question before. Why is mental health advocate or heart health advocate the top of the list? It, like I said, a gift. A guy gave me, my dad, a tennis racket that made four kids tennis players. I've been given the gift of recovery, and me winning a Grand Slam or being a tennis player or a professional tennis player. I could be rich and famous, but that is not as valuable as my recovery because my recovery can avert death and misery for someone.
Yeah.
All right, my experience, what I've experienced, like that man who shared with me his story. Um, and I'm sharing with you how it works. You said, it's not for people that needed it or want it. It's not for people that need it. It's for people that want it. A lot of people tell you that, or tell me that Murphy needs to hit rock bottom. Shut up.
Please
You
bring it
know,
on.
do not say that because
Okay.
the data today shows that rock bottom's a funeral. With
Yes.
fentanyl and all the other stuff going on, rock bottom's a funeral. So you can get off the elevator anytime. And back to what my dad said, all it takes is an open mind and an open heart and lay aside prejudice of how it should be. And my daily prayer has been since the day I surrendered and let go has been, please help me. I'm here because in this room, this support group meeting, because I need help. And I still need help. And I think I've been empowered by realizing I'm just another bozo on the bus of this thing called life. I swear to God, I'm not the piece of garbage my head will tell me I am, and I'm not the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm a guy that can wet his pants and double fault with the best of them, and eventually, every once in a while, like Coach Wayne Bryan will say, even a dog finds a bone every once in a while. And I found a few bones, and I'm going to, this is a day at a time thing for me. I can't stay clean on yesterday's shower. I hit my knees in the morning and ask for help. And I don't tell the universe or God how today's supposed to look.
Sure.
And I stay out of expectation and outcomes. So I went a little too deep there, but that's
No, it was great because I have heard that statement before rock bottom, but you're saying get off, let them get off that train before it crashes because the crash could be death. So let them help them before that moment happens.
yeah. And how you help is make it safe to like the trending quote, which is a beautiful quote. It's okay not to be okay. I see you're having a tough time, Murphy. And I want to say that Billie Jean years ago, whether she knew it or not, was making an intervention on me,
Really?
trying to help me. I'm not sure, but yeah. And she's been kind enough to ask me to help some friends of hers, and some of her friends of hers have helped me. And yeah, it's just and then I discovered through the process of my recovery not only who I am, but who why I'm here and who walks with me, you know.
It's extraordinary stuff. What is the best way for people do they download the app? Do they go on the website? How do people get help?
Yeah, you can download the app in the Google Play or the App Store and on Apple, um, or go to WeConnectHealth.io. There's, I want to say, 6 to 8 support group meetings daily. Um, you can check with your employer if your employer doesn't have our services, because most employers offer 3 free therapy sessions.
Sure.
If you're in a crisis, you don't, and the problem is with today's world, it's a 6 week wait time to book an appointment. And if you're in a crisis, you don't have 6 weeks. You got 60 minutes. You got 60 minutes to intervene if someone's at that jumping off point. And, all the resources, all the support is there. So we serve employers through their EAP, or we roll on top of someone's EAP,
That's the employee assistance program.
employee assistance program. Um, we you can access this, just, there's the free app. We have the free app that has the support group meetings. If you want to self-pay, you can self-pay. Uh, Medicaid, Medicare, we're looking to serve millions and millions of the underserved and no insured. Check with your insurance, see if you have it. If you want it, tell your insurance you want it, and they'll find me. Um, People in you know, the numbers can make a business like this billions and billions of dollars, and I hope so, because it's a $4 trillion problem. I need the money to help more people. Okay, I'm covered, but I need that money to help more people, because the more I can get this into the hands of somebody, I will speak on stage and give you my number.
Yeah,
You know, hey, reach out to me at murphyjensen.com. Text me, call me. You're struggling, call me. Okay, seriously.
I know.
So you're someone at home listening, give me a call. You know, uh, you know, it's been beyond a blessing. Um, and what's really cool, Adam, is that you are you. If you weren't you, I wouldn't be um as comfortable and thankful to tell you the truth.
Thank you, Murphy. It is I knew this interview was gonna be a game changer for
Mm,
me and for a lot of people. And it wasn't and honestly, as you can see, we're Florida tennis, but tennis is, I don't want to say the least important part of this, but it's not the life and death part of it. It's a nice little sidelight, honestly, in this interview, because I think the most important parts of your life have happened off the tennis court, and
mm.
it's
And
clear.
that's why I have mental health advocacy. Mental health advocacy. I'm a
That's
person in long-term recovery. I'm living proof that these issues are treatable, preventable, and I don't know anything about the word curable, but preventable. And because who the hell knows what's going to happen tomorrow?
right. You keep it containable. You want to keep it
Well,
contained,
manageable.
manageable. There
These
you go.
are fears, doubts,
Right,
insecurities, as
right.
opposed, I was restless, irritable, and discontent as a young kid. And that led to me seeking your approval and affection at a cost. Okay.
Sure.
There's a cost to, am I, and these things, these issues can manifest. It could be, now you've been around tennis as long as I have. Since I've been a kid, they've said, tennis is 99% mental. How much mental coaching did you get as a kid? I got zero. They told me, Murphy, when I open my mouth, Murphy, when you open your mouth, your brains fall out of your head. you know?
I have heard Andy Roddick, when Andy Roddick interviewed Marty Fish,
Hmm.
Andy said he was told, never show your emotions, never demonstrate weakness. And he goes, when that's drilled into you at a young age, you can't process your weaknesses, your emotions. It messes you up, is
Every
basically what he said.
lost point and every choke and every double fault and every lost match, you're going to experience depression at a certain level, whether you're aware of it or conscious of it or not. You now, have you been to a press conference after a tough loss? It's not a party. It's like a funeral. And another sad place on the professional tour they never talk about is prize money. Once you get off that horrible press conference, you're rolling into prize money to see you've just been taxed 50% because you just blew that match. You're
Yeah.
pretty angry, ornery. And yeah, I personally think of there's so much talk about a lot of tennis players today now have mental health
Right.
psychiatrists on staff and part of their team. They should have someone like at the Atlanta airport. They got therapists at the Atlanta airport or at different airports. They should. They should. They should have.
We're simpatico here because I just had this epiphany of, Murphy Jensen starting like a company where you put someone on site at these tournaments that players can talk to,
Yeah.
who anonymous, you can come in, maybe they have them, I don't know. But
No, I'm looking to serve the tennis world.
because mental health advocates on site,
Yeah.
what you were describing to me,
Or put
Wayne.
Murphy's 411. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah,
You're in the weeds. When I saw Zverev's, Sasha Zverev,
yes, very, yeah,
you know, my heart goes out to him
yeah,
and all the other players. And that's just someone that made a statement that has shook the world. When Naomi Osaka didn't want to go,
yes.
when didn't want to go to that press conference, the world of tennis did not handle that properly.
No, no, and I can tell you as someone in the media in my role, like I have done press conferences and I have been in a room with Osaka, and I have seen things that make me shake my head. Emma Raducanu was kind of victim of stalking, and then they kind of brought her into a small room. And there's a lot of things that I think people need to be a bit more sensitive to, and I hope they get there. And
Yeah.
I know they will with people like you
I don't
in the
care how
background.
much money someone makes. That's not going to liberate them from the human condition. They got to do that press conference or they got to do that. Of course, you got your responsibilities, but there's got to be a safe place. If the my internal world is burning, is on fire, there's got to be access to number one, a fire alarm, or you would hope before the building burns to the ground, they're close to a firehouse called a first responder of some sort.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, we are segueing Murphy into one of the most extraordinary stories I've ever heard. It's October 2021, I believe. Luke calls you and says, "Hey, I'm working at a new club. I think Garden of the Gods or something like that. I want to do an exhibition for the American Heart Association and the Gootter-Jensen Foundation. Unfortunately, Mr. Gootter had lost his life with a cardiac arrest, and wanted to make sure that a defibrillator was on site because the cardiac arrest is when the electrical impulses get out of whack, which is different than a myocardial infarction, which is when you get the blockage. You know all this much better than I do, but so many interesting things about this. The day before Luke had been walked through the facility because it was his first day on the job. And here's where the band-aids are. Here's where the punch clock is. Here's where the front desk is. There's a defibrillator. You fly in. Now, I know it's a little difficult to discuss because you don't remember it. And I think Kate the Great, I think has kind of described to you what happened, but it is absolutely um, a stunning survival story where only I think 8 to 10% of people live to talk about it. So if you have the strength, Murphy, to go into this right now, I'd
I
be
mean,
grateful.
after the heaviness of this interview,
Yeah.
is your audience ready for this?
I don't know, man. I don't know if we need to do part two. I'm ready for it because
Uh,
this is an unbelievable story.
I am. Someone recently asked me, what would I tell my 46-year-old self? At 46 years old, I just laid my dad to rest and I've been shot out of a cannon. And I didn't, it happened in a way that was the most beautiful, loving experience of my life. And it motivated me to realize that I had more to offer this world than just my tennis experience. And In that process, this is when I met Daniela from Microsoft. In that process, we moved to Seattle with no job on the other end. And we found WeConnect Health. We're a startup. I'm living in my in-laws' basement, not Beverly Hills, but it's awesome. And I'm grateful. And I'm excited. My son Billy will be graduating high school, heading to, I turned 50 first. And then, best birthday of my life. My son's graduating high school. He chooses to go to Seattle U. I'm having a baby boy. Things are happening.
That's Duke, the baby boy, and Billy's the
Baby boy
young.
Duke
Okay.
and my big boy Billy chooses to
Hmm.
go to Seattle U to play tennis. He's going to be close to his baby brother.
Hmm.
I could not have had a better, it couldn't be happening any better. And then the night before my what birthday, 53rd birthday on October 29th, I get that invite to go play in tennis exhibition. My doubles partner's Abigail Spears. I think a UCLA Bruin. We won't hold that against her. And it's the second game, and I'm serving to my brother, and I'm dressed in all black. And I asked Adidas to go Johnny Cash on me. And
Nice.
I'm looking at my brother. I just come off of 4 weeks with the Bryan brothers and Sam Query through Texas, and I've been playing with those guys for 4 or 5 weeks, and I'm playing great.
I was gonna say you are zoned.
I'm in the best shape of my life. That morning, I'd taken my baby boy Duke to the zoo. We're playing with the giraffes. The night before, we're swimming in the Garden of the Gods pool. And second game, I bounce the ball, look at my brother, and I smile because I'm going to absolutely kick his butt. And I serve the ball, and the ball drops to the ground. And I fall back, and my head takes the fall,
And you're
and
6'5".
I'm 6'5", 220.
That's a big fall.
My head cracks open, pool of blood on the baseline, and I drop. My heart stopped. My heart had stopped when I tossed that ball, and I dropped dead on a tennis court. And I lied there for 18 minutes. But in the first 10 seconds, someone screamed from the audience of 200 people or so, "Where's the AED?" And my brother had just learned, as you mentioned, where the AED was from the ex-fire chief who was the head of security. And he ran to get it. And my brother's never held an AED in his life. He was just told where it was the day before. And he rushed it over to me. By then, by 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, they had ripped my shirt off. They broke my ribs and sternum, performed chest compressions and CPR. They light up the AED. They will shock me over 6 times over the next 18 minutes. By the time the ambulance arrives, they finally get a pulse. They throw me in the back of an ambulance. My 4-year-old Duke at the time was put in the hands of a stranger, and my wife was holding me. My body had turned gray, and my brother was screaming, "Jensen's never quit. This is not your time. Kate needs you. Billy needs you. Duke needs you. I need you. I love you. You'd have heard it 6 states away." And they get me to the emergency room. Kate and Luke were in the back of the ambulance, and they put me into a medically induced coma, and I would sit there for 6 or 7 days.
And then the key here is you just don't know what Murphy you're gonna get. God
But
willing, you wake up.
yeah,
And I know that during that time, there's a famous moment, not trivializing this, but you're tight with Gavin Rossdale of Bush, and he actually there's a video of him singing to you. Um, the I think the bush is called I think it's called Come Down, and it has a line, because I don't want to come back down from this cloud. It's taken me all this time to find out what I need again. And the other important part of this is that the entire tennis world and recovery world was hanging on this moment, whether it was Agassi Collin or Billie Jean King or Chris Evert or all the people you've helped collectively came together to be with Kate and your children and Luke. And then take it from there. So now we're
I mean,
just
they don't
waiting.
know. They don't know what Murphy they're going to get back. I
Right.
wasn't responsive to pain in the
Hmm.
and at like day 6 or 7, the doctor said we gotta.
Right.
But Murphy, we're gonna
Well,
get
you got two things going because you hit your head. You
yeah.
could you could be paralyzed, and then cognitively
No, yeah, because
you were out.
who knows, the head paralyzed and I wasn't responsive to pain, and
Right.
cognitively there's a damn near 100% chance I'm going to have mental damage forever and I'll come out a vegetable. And I come out and I don't know where I am, who I am. It'll be days before I find out that.
Sure.
Uh, you mentioned Gavin Rossdale. He's my birthday brother, October 30th.
Yes.
And we're both October 30th. And he sang at my Kate's and my wedding,
Beautiful.
and landslide to you name it. I don't know. He's singing to me in the coma. I've got Roger Federer sending me notes, uh, praying and pulling for me. And I had people in recovery flying from around the country to support my wife and help us. Um, Duke's godfather, 25 years in recovery, and a bunch of others, my friend Mike. And they would read, and my brother would read my prayers and the literature from my recovery literature. And everything that I read on the daily, they would read to me while I was in this coma. And uh, and then I would come to, and I wasn't. I at that point had brain damage, and then they rolled me into an operating room, and the anesthesiologist, now I know it's an anesthesiologist. At the time, I didn't know who was talking to me. He said, "Are
Sure.
you ready?" They said, "Am I ready?" And I don't know what I'm ready for. I don't know where I am. But in the operating room, they had Kid Rock playing. Speaking of rock and roll,
Oh my goodness.
and it was I'm a cowboy, riding all night, sleeping all day. I'm a cowboy, baby. And she goes, "Are you ready?" For my anesthesiologist. You're damn right I'm ready. Let's go. Anyway,
That's awesome.
I guess that's what I said. And I woke up and I have an implantable defibrillator in my body today.
Hmm.
Uh, and then it'll be a few more days. And they said on a Thursday, if Murphy doesn't, I failed a cognitive test, 0 out of 20. If he's not better by Tuesday, we're going to have to keep him here to work on his brain.
Wow.
And I had a moment of clarity. Something that I do for stress is I take a bowl of water and I fill it with ice, and it's kind of like a polar plunge for the vata nerves or whatever. And I asked the nurse in the ICU and they thought I was crazy because I was crazy. If I saw your head, it was a head of lettuce with eyeballs. This
Oh
is,
my. Wow.
and everybody has asked me about the other side, but
I wasn't going to ask you. I don't know if that's too personal, like,
by
but
fine. By Tuesday, though, I had passed that cognitive test, and by Wednesday or Thursday, I was let out, and I spent a good week or two at the Garden of the Gods Resorts recovering, and I lost 50
we're
pounds. And
missing a key part of this story, Murphy. A key part of this story.
I know what you're going to
You
say.
know where I'm going. Your wife says you.
Well, eventually, so
All
Luke
right.
and Kate,
Big part of the story about something you say that is
yeah,
so Murphy Jensen.
Yeah.
Bring it
So,
on. Bring it on. You got to
so
tell
what
us.
happened was every day and every night, Luke and Kate were taking turns. It was COVID, so people weren't allowed in the hospital, but Kate and Luke, and they're 24 hours a day looking at me in this medically induced coma. And I get out and I do these tests and da da da. And eventually, Kate would call my brother Luke and say, um, his eyes moved or something like that. And then Kate on the daily would say, "You're in the ICU. You've had a cardiac arrest. Your name is Murphy. I'm your wife, Kate." And I looked up at her and I said, "This is going to make a great chapter in my book."
Boom. And that's when we knew Murphy Jensen was going to be okay. Boom. I love it.
No,
It's a great story.
that's not what happened.
It's a great story.
No, you don't know what happened?
Tell me.
I said, "Kate, one day I'm going to be with Adam on the Florida Tennis podcast. It's going to make a great story on the Florida Tennis podcast."
Oh, Murphy, we have gone so, all right. We have gone so far tonight, and there's so much more. I think it's been overwhelming in some respects where we've gone here. You've made an amazing recovery from a cardiac standpoint. You raised money for the American Heart Association. You will make sure that
Well,
there's a
I couldn't.
defibrillator in every club and everywhere.
Yeah, I found myself Jensen Gootter-Jensen
Yeah.
Foundation. My partner, Stephen Gooter, his family. Steve, I had supported this foundation for 10 years alongside Matt Svelander and others, and now I'm a partner in it. And it's just defeat sudden cardiac arrest and sudden cardiac death, and to provide AEDs. I found out that less than 30% of the tennis courts in the United States have
Wow.
AED. So if you don't have one, our foundation will find the monies to get you one. And once again, it's like the old expression, everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
Mike Tyson,
I've had my fair share of
you've been
punches in
punched.
the mouth. God, you're in charge. I'm done
Yeah.
running the show. I tell myself all day long, I'm not running the show. And when I eventually got back to Seattle, it would be 2 years. You see this guy who seems to have I think I've made a pretty full recovery, but there's PTSD. I couldn't could
Sure.
I could think I knew what PTSD was, but when things don't feel safe, if I hear an ambulance, you and I are having a totally different experience hearing an
Okay.
ambulance. I When things don't feel safe or an icy road, I don't feel comfortable there. When I got back on the tennis court for the first time at the Gootter-Jensen Foundation, we played the Bryan brothers and I kissed them and hugged them. Every day is a gift. Every day is a gift. Every night I die and every morning I'm reborn. And I have a birthday. It's November 4th or 5th. It's you get in the cardiac world, it's when you survive something like I survived, it's called a rebirth day. And I'm really honored that I got to speak to Congress in support of the AED Act along Damar
Wow.
Hamlin, who's a dear friend. To watch his comeback is incredible, and no different than I would say to you or anyone else. You whatever you go through, you got to have a safe place to share what's going on, what's really going on. And the most important relationship I have in my life is the one with the man in the mirror. And I got that relationship right by getting right with my maker, and then by having one right with me, I can have one right with you. And I can tell you the truth. The people now I really need to tie this together for you,
Please, Murphy, bring it
si-
home.
alongside you.
Yeah.
When I ended up at that psych ward and detox in 1999, I was all alone and all afraid and totally afraid, bankrupt and broken and beaten, and nobody was there. I didn't want to be there. The cardiac arrest as a result of my recovery path, the person I had become, the transformation of this bald guy. Um, I owe my life to the game of tennis and the world of tennis for praying for me and for loving me. Um, and today, I just want to say thank you, Florida Tennis. Thank you, life. I will do my best to make the days I have left the best I possibly can. And if nobody's told you they love you today, well, I do. And there's
There's
nothing.
nothing you can do about it. Murphy, I got to tell you, I knew this interview was going to be good. I knew it was going to be inspirational, but this has been beyond my wildest dreams. I hope, I still feel like there's more to mine, but I don't want to take any more of your time tonight because honestly, you must be exhausted. This has been a long day and this has been an unbelievable interview. And for you to take the time, paying it forward, just telling these stories, as painful as they may be or as difficult as they are,
Well, for my world
what
is
a
called,
service.
I'm carrying the message. My message
Yeah.
become my message. And I asked my therapist when I got back to Seattle, why was I still here? I'm still here for something I don't need to figure it out. I just, you called me and asked me to do
Yeah.
to share, be part of your podcast or part of Florida Tennis,
Yeah.
and I said yes. Someone, I'd say this. We lived by this principle before the cardiac arrest, but if you are hurting or suffering or always, always, always leave room for a miracle. Always. There is it. The miracle started happening in my life. Every day I see a miracle, or I've been really, really blessed. And so making space to get out of my own way has changed everything. And I think that in the end, and so till the day I die, I have a debt to pay to the Chris Everetts and the Billie Jeans and the love and the prayers of Andre and every uh yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. And when I live in that space, or if any of us can find that place, I really think my journey has been the healing of a broken heart and our mental health. Let me tell you something nuts.
Sure. Please
I don't know if I'm allowed to say the word nuts in the mental health world,
go
but
for it.
no, I got invited to the Stanford Heart Institute and they incubated my heart cells. They
Wow.
did the genosequencing and mapping. They wanted to find out what caused Murphy's cardiac arrest. Here's a bit of information. My heart cells respond different. No, yes, my heart cells respond differently to stress
Hmm.
than a normal heart cell.
Fascinating. Yeah.
The physical world that we live in is our physical health affects our mental health, and our mental health will affect our physical health. And leave it with tennis. Tennis has been the best medicine for my recovery, not because I'm a good tennis player, but cognitively, the amount of math I have to do, right? Remember the score. Forget about remembering your name or right or my
Sure.
name. All that math and all that science that takes place. Tennis has been, and I darn near play every single day. I lift weights every single day. I go for a walk every single day. I swim in the ocean or the lake or whatever's available, the bathtub. No, I swim. I do all this stuff because all that stuff is medicine for what? My mental health. And all
Sure.
that mental health, good, healthy mental health serves my physical health. So that stuff is all tied together, and I'm living proof.
Murphy, I feel like in your life you have saved so many match points that you're living in a tiebreaker for the rest of your life.
Oh my
Um,
God.
Murphy, thank you so much on behalf of Adam Ross, Florida Tennis. I want to let people know how busy you are, that you took the time to be here. I also want to let people know that they can pick up Florida Tennis Magazine. I have our latest issue right here. We have another one coming out pretty soon, but this is the Sabalenka Miami Open issue, but we have another one coming out soon. You can see the podcast. You can subscribe on the Florida Tennis YouTube channel, Facebook.
Twitter,
We're
X,
online. You can find us anywhere.
Instagram.
And let me say, Murphy, this is important. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Thank you,
Boom.
Adam.
All right,
Boom.
Murphy. Have a great night. Thank you so, so very much. My love to you and the family. Take care.